What's happened is the event has laid bare some of the cracks in the way we go about doing things. And so we're in this timeout. We're all in time. Everybody's called a timeout. And now we can evaluate what was working and what wasn't working, so that when we go back into the game, I really hope that what we don't do is just try to reinvent the old playbook and just go back to the way we were.
As a state senator, Kirk Watson helped shape past state policy for more than a decade. Now, in his new role as dean of the Hobby School of Public Affairs at the University of Houston, he's co-authored a plan to reshape the future Texas economy. Watson worked on this post-pandemic playbook with Stephen Pettigo, the director of the Urban Lab at UT's LBJ School of Public Affairs. Pettigo says the pandemic has pressed the pause button on the thriving Texas economy, and their plan provides a way to not only make it more disaster-proof, but more equitable.
But it's also, I think, in this pandemic, we've seen a lot of expose a lot of weaknesses. We have an educational divide. We have an urban-rural divide. We have vulnerabilities in terms of equity and inclusion across the state as we look at wages between the haves and have-nots in the state. And frankly, we've been a place that have invested in trying to get a lot of people to come to the state, but not maybe in doing enough investment into local Texans.
The playbook provides 9 action items to reshape the state's approach to everything from health care to education to closing the digital divide. The theme is more collaboration, not only between state and local governments, but rural communities and urban areas. It also calls for building on public-private partnerships put in place during the pandemic. Both Watson and Pettigo admit there's no guarantee policymakers will embrace this playbook. Still, they're hopeful the roadmap will help guide Texas toward a new way of doing business.
If we want to be resilient, and that's the real key piece of this, right, is resiliency. It's not just, we all want to reopen the economy. We all want to get started again, but we also don't want to live through this crisis again, this economic crisis. And so the way to do that is incorporating some of these policies to say, if there is an economic shock, if there's another Hurricane Harvey, for instance, or a natural disaster, and God help us, and not another pandemic, hopefully, right? That at least our economy can be somewhat more shock resistant. That's how we know if we've had some success. If we incorporate, we can reduce the shock, which allows us to have a little bit more vibrancy on the other side of this.
What we do is we create a new playbook for resiliency, and we treat our economy, we have the opportunity to treat our economy in a way where we come out this stronger and better than we were before. And that's a long way of saying that gives me hope.